Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome to the final video in the Ben 10 Retrospectives. And today we're going to be looking at the final movie to take place during classic Ben 10, Ben 10 Destroy All Aliens. Now, before we begin talking about this movie and its plot and my thoughts on it, I want to talk about its history in relation to me. When I first heard about this movie, it was I think it was, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was during the time when Ultimate Alien was on the air. I heard that they were going to make a CGI Ben 10 movie that took place during the original series, and all that was really seen about it was a small clip excuse where Weybig was holding Gwen in forearms up. And as such, it got people hyped because there's going to be a new Ben 10 movie, and honestly, I was interested too. A movie that takes place during the original series, a kind of a back to basics movie. I was kind of interested, and honestly, when the movie was in the process of coming out, I was honestly losing interest in Ben 10. Ultimate Alien, as I said before, Ultimate Alien was on the air when this movie came out, and at that time, I felt I was kind of losing interest. I found the stories to be blah. I didn't find as many things to be excited about. I thought the overarching plot needed work, and even the finale wasn't that good. I was really losing interest, so I kind of wanted a refresher when this movie came out, and as such, I just kept praying, saying, "Let this be good, let's be good." They can't screw up the original Ben 10, they cannot. And so when this movie was finally aired on Cartoon Network, I loved it. It felt when I first watched it, I felt like I was a kid again watching a new episode of Ben 10, except it was CGI, and I loved it. It was fun. I loved the fact that they got all of the original voice actors back. They didn't just get Tara Strong to play Ben. They also got Megan Split to play Gwen, Paul Iden to play Max. They got all the other voice actors back too, even the minor roles. The same they got the same actors who played Ben's parents in Goodbye and Good Riddance to actually play his parents again. They got the guy who played Azimuth from Secret of the Omnitrix that reprised his role as Azimuth. They got Tetrax in. They got all these other little minor roles, and they actually did try and make it fit into the continuity. They even got the same voice actors for all of Ben's aliens, and it's really nice. They even have the same designs. It's really fun, and I loved it. I loved the action. I loved where it was going. I loved all of it. It was fun. I enjoyed it, and I really did enjoy it. It made me feel like a kid again watching a new episode of Ben 10, and I loved this movie, and I loved it for that. So after I watched it the first time, I actually took a break from it. I didn't, because when Cartoon Network airs new movies, they usually air immediately after. I didn't watch it again because I needed time to calm down. But for a while, I did think this was a great movie, and eventually, I did manage to get the DVD on Amazon. And I was still pumped. I was really great. I was really great. I was thought it was gonna be a great movie, but at the time that I finally did rewatch it in the DVD, at that point I had calmed down enough, and I was able to take my nostalgia goggles off to watch this. And as such, what I originally thought is one of the greatest works of Ben 10 period, and a final to hurrah to the original show, kind of degraded a little. Not to the point where I thought it was bad, because I don't think it's a bad movie, but it wasn't to the same quality that I originally thought it was. And before you all start flaming me, allow me to explain. Allow me to explain. But I don't hate this movie. I do genuinely enjoy it, but I don't think but it does have some problems which I'll get into after I do my summary. First of all, let me talk about how this movie begins, because I usually don't talk about like the little beginning segment that has nothing to do with the rest of the story, even in these movies, but actually in some case, actually I do. I think all three of these movies have had beginnings that actually tie in a little bit to what happens in the rest of the movie. But anyway, in this case, the film starts with a tank attacking Bellwood. It's a high-tech super tank. It has all these missiles, lasers, and all this stuff. It can extend its wheels onto these giant robotic legs. Excuse me again. It pretty much is destroying the town. So of course, Ben, Gwen, and Max go to take care of it, and it is really nice seeing them back in there with their original chemistry and all that. They chase down the tank. They manage to get it into they manage to corner it as it tries to attack them, and so Ben decides Ben goes upgrade. He plans on merging with the tank and stopping it that way, but Gwen says that she can use a dismantling spell to take it apart. They get into a little tussle over it, but Ben manages to merge with the tank, but unfortunately it just makes things worse as the tank gets stronger, more upgraded, which really shouldn't be the case. Ben is upgraded. He should be able to control it, except in, like, maybe in the case of 6-6, that was an exception, but otherwise. My lunch is not agreeing with me. Or was my breakfast? Yeah, my breakfast. I haven't had lunch yet. Anyway, so Gwen uses her dismantling spell on the tank while Ben is still merged with it, and it manages to destroy the tank manages to destroy the tank, and no, we don't learn anything about that tank. It's pretty much just there for beginning's sake. But Ben starts feeling jittery as upgrade, and we see that something's a little up with the Omnitrix as the final scene as when Ben times out and the Tessens walk away. It starts glowing a bit of green and pink and so forth. Yeah, my breakfast is not agreeing with me. So anyway, so the next day, Ben's in class about to hand in homework, but the Omnitrix goes nuts and zaps it away, so Ben gets an F, and when the teacher looks through his planner, he just sees pictures of the aliens and a doodle that makes fun of him, so he gives Ben detention, and as such, Ben's parents ground him for the weekend. And of course, Ben is just getting more and more upset because he can't be with his grandfather. He has to readjust to all this normal life. He has to readjust back to a normal life, making this the third time this story was done in Ben 10, though unlike the first times, this one's actually canon. Ben doesn't know what to do, and he has to write a report, on the exploration. On the exploration to dang it, I'm not good. I don't know words with these things. I really don't. And my breakfast keeps making me burp. But anyway, okay, I'm getting sidetracked. But as Ben's about to do research on his laptop, the Omnitrix zaps the laptop, and Ben just starts wondering what's going on, and out of nowhere, Tetrax appears, shooting a diamond shard into Ben's window, which I don't think was ever cleaned up. And Tetrax said that the reason he's here is because Azimuth contacted him, and he needs something from Ben. So Ben goes with him because there's a chance to do some more exciting stuff, but then when they get to Tetrax's ship, Azimuth's not there, so Ben just really wanted to have an adventure and doesn't want Tetrax to know that the Omnitrix is whacked up. Goes out flying on his hoverboard because he still has that. I'm sorry, I keep burping. And so as he flies down a highway, he almost gets hit. He almost gets hit by a truck, which the Omnitrix bathes in another light, and the truck crashes. And then Ben goes to investigate. An evil Waybig appears. An evil Waybig, and I'm gonna just stop this right here, and I'm gonna say something. The design for the evil Waybig this design was used before. For those of you who don't know what the evil Waybig design is, it's essentially a reverse of Ben's Waybig. As for Ben, his body for Waybig is white with red lines and accents. For evil Waybig, it's the exact opposite. He's a black body, blue accents. And on Ben's chest, the symbol of the Omnitrix, on evil Waybig's chest is just this red circle. I'm only bringing this up, and again, as I mentioned, this is not the first time that the evil Waybig has made an appearance. As a little factoid, evil Waybig was the main antagonist of the video game Ben 10 Ultimate Alien Cosmic Destruction, and it looked the exact same. And it's the exact same model used in this movie. And it's nothing that will ruin your experience. But for someone who played the first 4 Ben 10 games on the DS and the PSP, it just kind of got under my skin just a little as I said to myself, I know that design. That is Albedo. And okay, yeah, spoilers for Ultimate Alien Cosmic Destruction, but Evil Waybig was ultimately revealed to be Albedo. But it's the exact same design. It's ripped right out of Ultimate. It's right out of Cosmic Destruction. And I will be lying if I said that's the last time that they borrowed something from something else for this movie, at least for designs. So, but anyway, nerd rant over. Back to the plot. The evil Waybig attacks Ben. Tetrax manages to save them. They try and fight it, but Ben's Omnitrix times out way too quickly. And just when it recharges, it lights up, and suddenly the evil Webbing is just it looks like it's vaporized, much like Ben's laptop and his homework. Ben doesn't know what happened, but he's taking credit for it, and Tetrax and him think that Azimuth's somewhere else in the galaxy. They want to go look for him. So they go off and fly. They go off. They get into Tetrax's ship, and without Gluto for some reason. Guess he got laid off. Don't know. But before they go off into space, Tetrax does something to the Omnitrix. He inserts a glowing light into Ben's Omnitrix, and he says he'll explain what it is when they're in orbit. Before they leave Earth's orbit, something attacks the ship, blows a hole in it, which causes Ben to fly out due to the pressure. And just before he lands somewhere in Sweden or Norway, I don't know. They showed a map later, and I think I've established through all these vlogs how dumb I am. But before he manages to hit the ground, manages to go alien and save himself. And as he's wandering around, he's trying to figure out exactly where he is. But as he's wandering around, the Omnitrix looks like it's about to time out. Only instead of flashing red like it would normally do, it's flashing green. And then instead of a red light, Ben transforming in a red light, it's a green one. And instead of becoming human, he's 4 arms now, which of course just makes Ben wonder what's going on. In the meantime, Ben's parents call Max because before Ben was grounded, he was supposed to go on a fishing trip with Max, so they're wondering where he is. He's not at his home. So Max and Gwen decide to try and find Ben, but all they can muster is a tracking spell. And they manage to track Ben down to where Tetrax's ship was. But when they get there, they can't get anything on Ben. And they find the truck that crashed, but Gwen realizes that something's not right. So she used a spell on it. It turns out the truck was an illusion. And it turns out it's Azimuth's ship from the end of Secret of the Omnitrix. Because at the end of the movie, I might have mentioned this, at the end of the movie, he took the head of one of Vilgax's giant robots and converted it into a ship. This ship is pretty much the same. Is pretty much that exact ship. And in the meantime, Tetrax comes down. He decides he wants to talk with them. But in the meantime, Ben finds himself in Stonehenge. And as he's there, he's confronted by a blue upgrade, which, I'm not gonna lie, is the dumbest character in this movie, though they have an explanation for it. It pretty much starts... The blue upgrade morphs his hands into guns and starts threatening Ben. He's asking, "Where's your friend? What's going on?" Ben, of course, doesn't know what he's talking about. But this upgrade is just not listening to him. So they get into this fight scene, and the upgrade turns himself into this giant mecha. And it pretty much and Ben's just trying to tell him, "I don't know what's going on. I don't know what you're talking about." And of course, this thing is just not listening to him. It gets into a very actiony fight scene, but it pretty much tears apart about a good chunk of Stonehenge, which it's just kind of nice how much it gives the middle finger to all this stuff. But in the meantime, Ben manages to knock this thing away, and in the meantime, the Omnitrix looks like it's flashed. It's going to time out again, but just like before, it turns Ben into upgrade instead of back to his human form. As such, when the blue upgrade reappears because he can teleport, he wants to know what's going on, and so when he can't find 4 arms, he decides to just attack Ben. Bring Ben to his home planet. He tries teleporting away, but instead they wind up in Rio de Janeiro. He incapacitates Ben, tries teleporting again. They wind up in Egypt. Ben turns into Stinkfly because of what the Omnitrix is doing. And in the meantime, they get into more fight. It causes more fight scenes, and it causes them to, as they teleport again, they go back to Bellwood. Things are just going nuts. Things are just going nuts. And in the meantime, Ben turns into Heat Blast. It's just it's honestly a very fun. It's a very good action scene. It's very high tech. It doesn't let up. It really is pumping. It's really fun. It's really nice, especially because of Ben continually changing between aliens. It's exactly what it's like. It's one of the reasons why I like the final battles in Secrets and the battles in Back with a Vengeance, because you can see the full capability of what Ben can do when he just keeps switching between them, and it's really fun. And while I'm talking about it, I might as well go back to the wrestling. I might as well go back to everyone else, which is actually what happens. Ben, Gwen, and Max and Gwen explain what's been going on with Ben, that he's been grounded, that something's not right. Tetrax explains his side of the situation, and that... Sorry, hold on a sec. Sorry about that. I had to go deal with something. Anyway, as I was saying, Tetrax and everyone's explaining the situation to everyone else. Tetrax talks about that his ship was attacked, something went wrong, they don't know who it was. So Ben's out there somewhere, obviously in trouble, and Tetrax then tells exactly what he did to the Omnitrix. He installed something in there so that Ben couldn't become human again. I honestly have my own theories. I honestly have my own theory about this because I think it's implied that when the Omnitrix times out because it doesn't have enough energy to sustain the transformation, so it turns Ben back so it can regain that energy. I'm thinking that Tetrax put an excess amount of energy in there so that it could sustain all the transformations, but because of the limit, because it still has the limiter and the failsafe installed, so it will still time out and transform because master control is not activated, and as such, because it's instead of turning Ben back so it can recharge, it instead just shifts him to another form instead. So that's my own personal theory, but in the meantime, they're still trying to figure out where Azimuth went, and Gwen points to the ship that's crashed. In the meantime, Ben manages to escape from the blue upgrade, but because the Omnitrix turns him into gray matter, and he manages to make it back to his house. Don't know how. And he freaks out his parents in the meantime, as Max, Gwen, and Tetrax are investigating Azimuth's ship, the blue upgrade appears there and starts questioning them. What's going on? How are you connected to this? What do you know about Azimuth? But they managed to, and they figured out before he showed up, but they figured out by snooping the ship through the last record that when the Omnitrix zapped when Ben's Omnitrix zapped Azimuth's ship, it caused it to go haywire, and and caused it to crash, and that's when the evil Weybig showed up. And from the way the ship's logs it looks like that the evil Weybig crushed Azimuth. Though they all say that maybe he was digested. I don't know how. I don't know. I really don't know. As such, turns out the blue upgrade saw all this and is just thinks Azimuth's dead. And so that's why he's going nuts. He's looking for that Weybig, and every time he tracks him, and for some reason his tracking is bringing him right back to Ben. They really start demanding answers from him. He doesn't want to listen because he's a moron, and so he manages to use his powers to activate the ship's self-destruct mode. So he teleports away. They manage to survive it, and they manage to Tetrax, Max, and Gwen managed to survive the explosion, and they managed to make it back to Ben. They managed to find Ben using, I'm guessing, a tracker. They don't show how. Next scene, they're alive. In the meantime, Ben's parents freak out when they see him as gray matter, and so what makes it even worse is that when he transforms into Diamond Head in front of them, so just before any explaining can go on, Max instead stuns Carl, his son, because, well, Ben's mom fainted. So now that they're out, of course, people are mad at Ben because he tried using this opportunity to run away, and Tetrax takes out the command he put in the Omnitrix, so the next time it times out, he'll be human again. But the blue upgrade appears again, grabs Ben, puts him in a tether, but the Omnitrix times out once again. But when it does, it starts going haywire. They're wondering, okay, what's really going on with this thing? And Gwen starts piecing things together, and then she runs forward along with Tetrax. They manage to get, and suddenly the Omnitrix releases a giant explosion of energy, and Ben, Gwen, Tetrax, and the blue upgrade are now gone, and the only thing that remains of any of them is the Omnitrix, just sitting there. In the meantime, you see all four of them appear in different locations, Gwen and Tetrax in what looks like Bellwood, and Ben and the blue upgrade appearing in what looks like a giant diamond plane, which is revealed to be Petropia, or at least a simulation. Gwen is able to put together that they're actually inside the Omnitrix, and that the locations they're in are simulations inside the Omnitrix. But it turns out that things are kind of going wrong in here, as there's a computerized voice that echoes throughout everything, echoes throughout the entire place, and it keeps saying warning DNA protocol error. And whenever it does that, it causes, you see these swarms of Ben's aliens coming in to attack everyone. Like where Ben in the Blue Upgrade, and when it says this, they're swarmed by lepidopterans, stink flies. Well, when that happens for Gwen and Tetrax, they're swarmed by wild mutts throughout Bellwood, which just somehow are continually following them and trying to kill them. It actually does have some nice chase scenes with more of Tetrax's powers. He actually uses diamond surfing. It's really cool. But Gwen manages to get them away via a portal and goes into the Petropia simulation with Ben and the Evil Upgrade. And of course, the Evil Upgrade is still not listening to any of them, so they manage to get him in a bubble. And at that point, they finally are able to get him to explain everything. And it turns out he's actually Asma's father, which is explained, which will make sense later. Which actually they actually do make sense later. And that the reason he's on Earth is because the last thing he saw of Asmith was the Evil Waybig looking like he crushed him. As such, he wants revenge on that Waybig, and when he's been trying to track the Waybig, he kept finding Ben. Gwen is able to put together that that whatever's going on in the Omnitrix, whatever's going on in the Omnitrix, it's causing the Omnitrix to go haywire and download all this extra stuff. As such, it downloaded all of them inside the simulated it's inside of itself, and it even makes it more present is that the Omnitrix isn't on Ben's wrist anymore because of this. And unfortunately, Gwen actually knows exactly what's going on. It turns out that all of this is a side effect of her using the dismantling spell on the tank, and because when Ben was upgraded, the dismantling spell affected him and is now in haywire inside the Omnitrix, interfering with the DNA splicing matrix, causing it to download all this extra stuff that it would normally never do. But as such, it also explains why the Blue Upgrade's been tracking Ben. It turns out that the Omnitrix, when it annihilated the Evil Waybig, it actually downloaded it inside, and right on cue, it shows up and attacks the group. And so the Blue Upgrade goes to attack it. In the meantime, Ben and Gwen are both feel sorry about all this. Ben thinks it's kind of hopeless. But Gwen gives him a quick pep talk, emphasis on the word "quick." But they manage to go off and they want to try and figure out exactly what to do, and they manage to put something together. That if they want to get out of the Omnitrix, then they need to do the exact same thing that Gwen did to start this mess. They need to use a dismantling spell with a negative charge on an upgrade. And since Ben can't go alien while he's inside the Omnitrix, they instead are going to use the Blue Upgrade. So as it's fighting the Evil Waybig, it manages to grab him. So Gwen uses the dismantling spell on him with the negative charge, and it causes an explosion that engulfs Ben, Gwen, Tetrax, the upgrade, and the Evil Waybig. And it causes all four of them to reappear in the real world, and destroying the Rust Bucket, because after everyone disappeared, Max brought the Omnitrix into the Rust Bucket to figure out what was going on, and again destroys it, like in Race Against Time, only not as epic. And so the Evil Waybig's now on the loose. The Blue Upgrade, Asma's father, is just going crazy and attacking it. But as that's happening, the Omnitrix starts going haywire again, only this time instead of downloading something, it instead blasts a ray at Ben's unconscious parents and turns them into a Pyronite, aka Heat Blast, and a Vulpomancer, aka Wild Mutt. And instead of reacting to their transformation and thinking what's going on, they attack the group. And Tetrax is able to put together that the transformation somehow affected their minds, which causes Gwen to realize something. That because of this disorientation, they're now more violent. They don't recognize anything. They're crazy. And so everyone puts together exactly what's going on. When the Omnitrix went nuts and hit Asma's ship, Asmith didn't die. He wasn't crushed under the foot of the Evil Waybig. He is the Evil Waybig. When the Omnitrix zapped his ship, it transformed him into this thing, and as such, Asmith being mad, being nuts, he's not explaining the situation to anyone because he can't think straight, and unfortunately his father doesn't know this, so he's attacking him. So they have to figure out a way to stop this, because the Omnitrix is not only, because the Omnitrix, this is part of the going haywire. It's not only downloading stuff, it's also it's only downloading. It's uploading Ben's DNA signature to all these people, and with every time it does, like with Ben's parents and Azimuth, they go nuts. They can't think straight, and as such, if they don't find a way to stop this, it could infect all of Bellwood. Though I admit it'd probably be safer if you just kept Ben isolated, because it only seems to affect life forms near him. So, but regardless, Ben, they have to find a way to get Azimuth back to normal, or at least get him in his right mind so he can fix the Omnitrix and stop his father from killing him. So Ben goes way big. He manages to confront Azimuth, and it leads to an awesome but dumb fight between Ben and Azimuth as they're fighting in the middle of Bellwood. It's just a giant versus a giant. It's amazing. They're constantly throwing down. They're being vicious. They're being great. They're destroying buildings. Several Bellwood citizens are either put out of the job or killed, depending on if they worked the night shift, which I'm thinking they didn't. Bottom line, they shouldn't be having this fight scene in the city. That's the dumb part about it. Even Gwen points it out, but Ben pretty much tells her, screw you, I'll do what I want. They continue fighting, but then Azimuth's father comes in. He doesn't recognize Ben, which is still dumb. He didn't recognize Ben in any of them, even though he had the same symbol, and they even told him, I can transform. He didn't believe them until they were stuck inside the Omnitrix. It was dumb. That's still something else. But then Ben manages to convince him. They try and tell him that the evil Waybig is Azimuth. He doesn't buy it. It leads to more fighting. It leads to them going into a park, and ultimately, Ben unfortunately times out, so they can't fight Azimuth. But Gwen is able to use a mind spell to try and reach inside Azimuth's head and at least get him aware enough so that he's able to talk, and that convinces his father that is actually Azimuth. So Azimuth, now in control of his faculties, grabs Ben and Gwen and his father and uses his galvanic mechamorph physiology to fix the Omnitrix and revert Azimuth back to normal, and which ultimately reverts Azimuth back to normal. And it ultimately turns out that his father is actually a Galvan, which makes sense. Of course he would be a Galvan, but the reason he was an upgrade was because it was a device that Azimuth was using. It was called the Mechamorph Battle Armor. It gives someone the abilities of a Galvanic Mechamorph, aka upgrade, but unfortunately it boosts aggression and makes them more angry and less prone to reason, which is why Azimuth's father was going nuts when he wore it. As such, Ben, Ben, and Gwen stop by, go back to Ben's house because Max and Tetrax have been going up against Ben's parents, and they use a combination of Gwen's spell and the Mechamorph Battle Armor to revert Ben's parents back to normal. They don't remember anything about the events, so Ben's secret is safe, and it's pretty much the happily ever after. And it's pretty much the happily ever after with promise of a future adventure to come. So that's the plot. Overall, it's pretty solid. It's something you would actually expect from an episode of Ben 10. I do like that there are some little hints here and there. These little things that come back, like Ben blasting the truck, and then the Waybig showing up, and then evil Waybig showing up, and then it all coming back together. It's really nice, and for the most part, there's nothing technically wrong with it, but the execution of it can falter sometimes. Mostly because in some cases, sorry, that was my phone. In some cases, it feels a little rushed. And I really do mean that. Like, it feels like they're trying to get through everything as quickly as possible, which in some cases can be a problem. Like, for example, I think biggest example being the fight scenes. And I don't hate the fight scenes. In fact, I will compliment this movie on that. All the fight scenes in this movie are amazing. It takes all the action and all the creativity from the original cartoon and amplifies it, because this entire movie is CG. It's all CG. Yeah, and because of that, they take advantage of it. Have these cool angles that move around, have these nice designs, and because of this, the fight scenes are more dynamic. They move a lot quicker. They feel more actiony. You get more angles that you could never get in a movie. You can never get in the car with hand-drawn animation. It's really amazing, and it's really fast-paced, and it really is fun to watch. But the big problem with them is that it doesn't take a break. I mentioned this before, but they don't take breaks. and okay, scratch that. They do take breaks, but the closer we get to breaks are the first third of the movie, some small moments between the fight scenes, and just some quick, and I do mean quick, character moments. For the most part, it's mostly fighting. And again, it's not a big problem because the fight scenes are awesome, but there's not a lot of time to breathe between them. Even in quiet moments, there's something happens that disrupts that and causes everyone to go back into overdrive. And after a while, you just kind of want to calm down so you can focus again. And again, I suppose you could say maybe the show did the same thing. And I guess you could say that, but the difference was that was a half-hour television show. That was again, the difference was that was a half-hour television show. That they were allowed to do stuff like that. Even in the other movies they had some. Even in Secret of the Omnitrix or Race Against Time, they took moments to be quiet. Even like after the Inkarsicon scene, we had some nice moments of them realizing the truth and them talking. In Race Against Time, they actually kind of had a few moments. They had quite a few moments like that. In this movie, not so much, which is sad to say, but it's true. And in some scenes, it really you can really tell that it's rushed through the dialogue. And I don't mean like I mean like in the sense of, for any viewers of this who also watch the Nostalgia Critic, specifically his reviews of Felix the Cat and the Magic Voyage, some scenes of dialogue feel like that. Like they go like this. Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. How are you? Oh, I'm good. How was your day? Oh, I was nice. That's honestly how some bits of conversation feel like they're going. There's no flow. It feels like they're trying to get through it and getting ready. They're trying to get through it. It's not all that way with every. It's not that way with every scene. In fact, it's not that way with every scene, as for the most part, the dialogue and those things actually does feel actually natural, and actually does feel like it's part of the show, and does feel like it was originally from the show. And again, the dialogue itself and the dialogue itself is fine. It's just the pacing with it doesn't work. And again, back to defending the movie. In some cases, it works, as these quick conversations can work well during fight scenes because you have to keep the action moving. You gotta talk fast to get across what you want to get. You can't afford to stop for a moment. But during normal scenes, especially when Gwen, Max, and Tetrax are searching through Azimuth's ship, they have a similar conversation like this regarding Max being suspicious of Azimuth because he's never met him before. But otherwise, yeah, it's just there. Again, it's not a big problem because for the rest, most of the dialogue in the movie is paced fine, but there are those scenes and there are those occasional scenes, and they can get distracting. And honestly, I think that's what the biggest problem with it. It feels rushed in some regards. It wants to get through the action, and it's nice action. I will not lie, but it feels like that was the big concern. And I think one of the biggest problems is that this movie is CG. And I don't, again, this isn't a bash against the movie. I do like it, and I just complimented the CG on how nice it makes things look. And the CG itself doesn't look that bad for a TV movie. But I think the big problem is they wanted to show off that it was CG. Like, they just wanted to show all these dynamic angles. Look at the cool fight scenes. Look how fast we can make this move. I think they just wanted to show that off. And and the movie ultimately goes into a bit of style over substance for this. And that does suck. That sucks. It really does. I don't hate this story, but I think it suffers because they don't take their time with it, and they just are concerned with making everything look cool rather than having it go through what they want to show, which sucks. It really does. But, and here's a little nitpick. It's nothing that really ruins it, but as I mentioned before, this movie was made during Ultimate Alien. As such, since they wanted to make this movie canon for the original series and for the series that followed, and for the other shows that followed, and as such, there are some elements from Alien Force / Ultimate Alien that kind of work their way into this. One example that you kind of see is Gwen's magic. You didn't really see her using constructs that much in the actual show, save for every here and there. In this one, though, she's using them all the time, and they're pink. Glowing pink, which is exactly like it was in Ben 10 Alien Force. Exactly like it was. In fact, that's how she utilizes it. In fact, she even uses tracking spells in Alien Force to look for people, and that's exactly what she does here, complete with the glowing pink eyes. That's exactly how it was. But the biggest glaring example, and I mentioned that, and I alluded to this when I talked about Evil Waybig using the design of the Evil Waybig from Ben 10 Ultimate Alien Cosmic Destruction, the game. But the biggest example is Waybig. Now, I will also give a movie this. I will continue to give the movie this. It really does do its best to make you feel like you are still watching the movie. And I already commented on getting all the voice actors back, using many of the original designs. It's nice, but here's this one little problem. One little problem. Waybig is not the original design. It's the design from Alien Force. And I mean completely. It's the exact same he has the exact same grooves, the exact same bumps, he has the line in there, and it's not just that design too, it's the Omnitrix as well, and it really does kind of stick out. I mean that, because in the rest of Ben's aliens, the Omnitrix looks how it does whenever Ben transforms. The interior looks gray while the outside of the hourglass symbol is white. But in Alien Force / Ultimate Alien and yes, Omniverse, the Omnitrix symbol was always green with the hourglass symbol in the Omnitrix was always green with the outside of it being black. As such, because they're using the design of Waybig from Alien Force / Ultimate Alien, that's what the Omnitrix looks like. And it's a glaring weakness. And I'm not going to get into that issue about why the Omnitrix is green. It doesn't have any color in Ben 10 and then suddenly has color in that one. I think it's all dumb. It's just animation. Why would you even bother? Dwayne McDuffie said it was because the Omnitrix wasn't functioning in an Omniverse in Ben 10, and I think that's stupid. I was told... What was his name again? Derek J. Wyatt said it was because there was a scratch covering on the Omnitrix that fell off after this movie. I don't buy that either. I don't care enough to care about that. It's just a simple little watch. And Alien Force has different animation. Why they could take that creative liberty, whatever. I don't care. So, and getting off topic, bottom line, it's not a big problem, as it's still Waybig. He's still awesome to watch, and it's the same voice actor from the original show, so it's still nice to look at. But it definitely doesn't fit with everything else. But now that I'm done bashing what I didn't like about this movie, let me talk about what I do like. And I've already gone into a few things. One, the fight scenes. As I already mentioned, they're quick, fast, dynamic, and because of the CGI, they really take advantage of it all, and it's fun to watch. Two, I like that I love the voice acting. While I think the dialogue is rushed, again, as I mentioned in that, it does feel like what was said. It does feel like it belongs. It does feel like it belongs on the show. What's said, the jokes, how it works. If some dialogue sections were just paced more evenly, it would be really nice dialogue, and I think that would be nice. I like the plot. I love the twists and turns. It really does. It's really nice. I like seeing Tetrax back. I like seeing more use of Ben's aliens. I like the fact that when the Mechamorph armor's teleport is malfunctioning, we see all these different designs of the world. It's really cool. It's a fun, and again, while a movie isn't perfect, it's still fun. I did enjoy myself. Admittedly, I did find the resolution to be a bit cheesy, but otherwise, yeah, the resolution was they fix the rust bucket, make it the rust bucket 2, I suppose. Ben gives his report without actually giving his report. Then there's Animo, but I found that conclusion to be cheesy, even in the initial viewing. But otherwise, I think the film is okay. It's enjoyable. It's fun. I think that's really nice. Admittedly, would I preferred some things were more different? Yes, I would. But for what I got, it's a fun movie. It's a nice callback to the original show. It's nice to see all these things come back. It's nice that they try and make it feel like a part of the actual show with some little hiccups here and there. But otherwise, Ben 10 Destroy All Aliens is perfectly fine. It's a nice, okay movie. It's really, if you're a Ben 10 fan, I still recommend it. If you got kids I admit I think there's still other better movies. I admit it's not the best movie. And I think my favorite is honestly Race Against Time. Yeah, that's it. I think my favorite out of all three of these movies is Race Against Time. But otherwise, it's still fine. So, I think that's really all I have to say, which I think that's pretty much it for classic Ben 10. For those, and yeah, that's it. For those of you, and so for everyone that actually, for everyone that stuck with me over the course of this year and all those poorly lit videos where I was experimenting with the lighting or had to do these vlogs when the sun was going down, I thank you for sticking with me through all this. And if you enjoyed these videos for whatever reason, I thank you. I'm glad that you stuck with me through all this and this journey back through classic Ben 10. It was fun, and honestly, it was fun going through all these videos. Going through all these episodes again. It was really nice just to tune into these and just enjoy and just kind of have and just enjoy myself like this. And maybe and if you watched along with me, if you had the Ben 10 DVDs yourself or could find downloads of it online and watch it along with me, I say thanks for that, and I'm glad that everyone stuck with me through this year and did that. I'd also like to again, and I also like to make so yeah. I'd like to thank all my watchers on YouTube and Tumblr, and I'd also like to give a special shout out to Small YouTubers Collide. For those who don't know what that is, it's a Tumblr site. It's a site on Tumblr that its purpose is to get small YouTubers out there. I'm gonna leave a link in the description below, but I thank them for over the past year putting up my videos and allowing other people to see me. And if you haven't checked them out yet, I recommend it. They have a lot of talented people there doing their thing. They all deserve more attention. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for classic Ben 10. Thank you for watching, and while I am done with the Ben 10 retrospectives, I do still have something else in mind, which you can probably guess. I blurted it out a few times over the course of this year during my vlogs, but I'll I'll just reveal it next week with a prologue video, much like I did with these videos. But needless to say, our journey through Ben 10 isn't over. Classic series is done, but there's still one more show that I would like to talk about before I walk away and maybe I'll talk about some other shows when I'm done with that. I'm currently going through Smallville because I have every season on DVD. I didn't watch that when it was live. So I'm probably going to go through Smallville, and maybe I could do a retrospective on that as well if anyone's interested. So I don't know. I guess we'll see where we go. I guess I'll see where this goes. So again, thank you all for watching. Thanks for sticking with me over this year, and tune in next week for the announcement of what I'm going to be doing next in terms of vlogs. But again, you can probably guess. So anyway, I'm Samuel Johnson, and thank you for watching. Take care.